Imagine standing in a crowd in New York City, 1854. The air is electric with anticipation and the faint murmur of skepticism. Before you is a man, Elisha Otis, seemingly about to risk his life to prove a point. He is stood on an elevator, held up by just a rope, as was the norm at the time. He orders the only rope holding the elevator aloft to be cut. And yet, he doesn't fall. The crowd erupts into applause because until this moment, society had not trusted elevators. They were mainly used for transporting goods in factories. But Otis had created a new elevator with a brake system that ensured safety for humans. He just needed to show it to the world. And on that day, Otis didn't just sell an elevator. He sold an idea, shrouded in the irrefutable cloak of showmanship. Like Otis, I've learned that sometimes to lift your message above the noise, you need to take a leap of faith, or in his case, prevent a fall. Let me take you guys back a little to my own story. With an academic background in criminology and then a career woven in digital marketing and podcasting, I've become obsessed with understanding deeply one thing: human behavior. And in this decade-long journey, as I've tried to unravel human behavior, I feel I've come across a secret. Something that will help us all elevate the ordinary in our daily actions and interactions. Imagine possessing the key to unlocking deep, meaningful relationships, or being able to speak to any audience, or leaving a mark to no matter who you speak to. Showmanship. It's a term we associate with actors and performers, but what if I told you that it's the secret ingredient in some of the world's most successful individuals, campaigns, and brands? It's present in the world of sports too. Think of the underdog story that captures the heart of a nation, or the last-minute goal that turns players into legends. It's not just about the game, it's the drama, the narrative, the shared experience of triumph and defeat that captivates an audience. Showmanship is equally vital in business. It's the art of selling a product or idea in such a compelling way that it leaves an indelible mark on its audience. It's Steve Jobs announcing the iPhone, not just as a product, but as a revolution. It's Brian Chesky of Airbnb, who revolutionized the travel industry, not by creating a platform for home rentals, but by selling the dream that you can belong anywhere, turning every travel destination into a home. However, showmanship isn't just confined to the grand stages of business, sports, or entertainment. I want the parents in here to imagine their child doing a simple task for them, like handing you the TV remote when you ask for it. Just close your eyes. Take 5 seconds and imagine that interaction. Now, I bet if I asked to see a show of hands of who saw their child slowly and quietly picking up the TV remote and gently passing it to you, I'm sure not a single hand would go up. That's because children, in their essence, are natural-born showmen. I'm a dad of 2 boys, Zachariah, who is 4, and Khalil, age 2. So I'm sure you can imagine that my home is a constant stage for showmanship. I'll give an idea of how this interaction would go down at my house. If I asked my 4-year-old Zachariah to pass me the TV remote, it would never just be a simple task. Oh no. he would turn it into an epic adventure. Imagine him bolting towards a table with the enthusiasm of a young superhero. His little fingers grab the remote. But then, instead of walking backwards, he prepares for his grand stunt. In a swift motion, he vaults over the sofa with a front flip worthy of Olympic gold and then lands with the grace of a cat. Then, with a sparkle in his eyes and a triumphant smile, he would hand me the TV remote as if he's just retrieved a lost treasure from a dragon's lair. In his eyes, he's not just Zechariah. He is half dinosaur, half superhero, performing his routine with a flair and enthusiasm that only a child's mind can evoke. This, my friends, is showmanship. And it's something we can all learn from these little maestros of drama. Now, if I were asked to define showmanship, to explain what it is, I would say that it's about turning everyday moments into extraordinary experiences, no matter how big or small they may seem. So, I put together a framework that I believe will allow all of us to become showmen, to have showmanship in our smallest of actions, to elevate the ordinary, to make the routine remarkable. Now, this framework focuses on the fact that showmanship is about the attention to detail, the extra effort to make someone's day better, the willingness to go the extra mile, not for applause, but for the sheer joy of creating a memorable experience. Now, there's two things I want to tell you guys before I break down this framework. The first thing is people often say to me, but Faisal, the world is built for extroverts. I'm not an extrovert. And to you, I say that this framework is applicable whether you're extrovert or an introvert. You can still use it. The second thing is that if you really want to elevate your actions, to elevate the ordinary, you must do this framework in order. It only works in order. Okay, let's get into it. The framework is called ACT, many components of which have been made famous by social psychologist Amy Cuddy. I'm just going to move the board so I can see it a little too. There we are. The A in ACT. The A in ACT stands for authenticity. Be genuine. If you're a healthcare professional, you would know that a genuine smile amongst your busy day could turn your patient's routine checkup into a moment of care and connection. Being genuine is important for brands too. A study by Conan Wolf found that 91% of consumers said that they trust brands that they deem as authentic. Be authentic. The C in ACT. The C in ACT stands for connection. If you're a barista serving up a cappuccino, remember the name and orders of your regular customers. Turn their morning routine into a moment of delight. Let me take you back to the start of my career. My very first job was in retail for a big tech company that everybody here would have heard of. What was interesting is that although it was a job in retail, the interview process was rigorous, multiple stages. What was even more interesting is that the ones who didn't make it on to the next stages in the interview process were the ones who knew everything about the brand, everything about the business, its history, the products. I mean, these guys could recite the specs of a product as if it was a second language. Yet, they weren't getting the callbacks. I was intrigued, perplexed by this. So I started asking around. And what I learned was something that has stayed with me to this day. They said, You can teach knowledge, but you can't teach personality. And that was amazing. But what was even more incredible were the ones who did get through to the next stages, the ones who did eventually get the jobs. A YouTuber, a stand-up comedian, an aspiring podcaster. We clearly had other passions. We clearly weren't planning to stay there for long. Yet this company knew that in order to connect with the consumer, you do not create walking encyclopedias of your brand. You create people who can mirror your customers. They did not build a workforce. They built a microcosm of society. This is personal connection. And finally, the T. The T in ACT is my favorite part of this framework. It's truly the final encore of showmanship. The T in ACT stands for transformation. This is where you elevate the ordinary. This is where you make the routine remarkable, where you make the mundane magnificent. Imagine how a simple thank you can be transformed. Like, for example, leaving a personal note on the desk of a colleague who helped you on a project, turning a regular form of appreciation into something tangible and memorable. Or in the world of retail, think about how you can transform a simple transaction. If you understand the customer's needs, you tailor the experience to them, you add value to them. When a customer walks out of a store feeling better than when they walked in, that is transformation. Or think about in the realm of education. A teacher's job is to transform information into inspiration. It's one thing to convey facts and figures, it's another to ignite curiosity. When a history lesson becomes a journey back in time, that is transformation. And whilst the T for transformation may take all the credit for showmanship, it cannot function without the A and the C. Because if you are not authentic and you can't connect, then you'll never be able to transform. It's the authenticity that makes your audience love you, the connection that makes them care, and the transformation that makes them remember. Together, they form the unforgettable trifecta that is showmanship. And this everyday showmanship has a ripple effect. It builds communities, strengthens bonds, creates moments of joy. It's a reminder that each of us has the power to make a change in the lives of others through our actions, big or small. It's an invitation to live life, not just as a series of tasks, but as a stage for creating memorable experiences. So, as we consider the role of showmanship in our own lives, let's look beyond the bright lights and the fancy theatrics. Let's appreciate the showmanship in everyday moments, because it is in these moments that we truly realize what it means to make life not just bearable, but beautiful and memorable. So as I close, and the next time you walk into an elevator and you see his name etched on the side panel, remember Elisha Otis. Sometimes success is about building the safest elevator, but more often, it's about proving it in the most unforgettable way. So take a chance, craft your message, and cut the rope. Because you may just find that if you do, you don't only prevent a fall, but you inspire others to rise. Thank you very much.